Okay, so I got a brand new kneaded eraser here, and I really do feel a little bit more comfortable working with the kneaded eraser. So I'm just going to continue with it a little bit more, and the bigger the eraser, actually, the better. So I'm just kind of like almost feathering very lightly the kneaded eraser. Now I know that I'm going to overwork the paper a little bit, but I don't care. This is how I want to do this, and so I'll take my chances. And this is very important with in terms of like having a consistent light. So I'm sure that you've seen the photo on drawing tutorials online on one of the pages. I believe it was in the shading chapter of my studio, how I have it set up. And it's very important that when you're doing something like this, all this like little stuff that I'm doing now, it's important that you keep the light source consistent. Because then if you like work in your studio one day and you're dependent on natural light and it's sunny that day, and then you come on in another day and it's going to be it's cloudy outside, the whole like this stuff over here that I'm working on is going to look completely different. So you can kind of go around in circles with it if you're not careful, and you keep changing, and the next day you come into your studio and then it's sunny again and then you change it again. So consistency with the light sources is really the name of the game. I find that you don't want to be too uptight about the light source, because then you'll never get anything done, and you'll be waiting for the light to always be perfect. But just keep that in mind as you're working on your piece, that if you're doing a life drawing of a cast at home, if you have any type of thing that you're drawing, maybe it's just some still life stuff that you had laying around the house and you're doing that, just be consistent with the light. And that will really help you avoid making mud, because it's very easy to make mud. Very, very easy. So now as I'm working on this, I'm really still taking into consideration all of my visual measurements. Like I'm looking at this center line over here and I'm pulling the line straight down, and I'm comparing it to where the navel is. This is a little long over here. I gotta drop some of this. I'm actually gonna start to work with a pencil soon. Someone had posted a drawing of a cast. I'm very sorry I forgot your name. And some of the reflected light under here on their drawing, I mentioned to them, I gave it a quick like little critique. I thought like it was just too light and it was destroying the form. Like, you want to be careful over here that you don't go too light with some of the reflected light in the shadow, especially over here. Like, I'm seeing some stuff. We're going to do that when we get to texture. I'm seeing some detail over here. You just don't want to go too light with it, because it'll immediately start to flatten the beautiful 3-dimension that you've already started to work. It'll flatten it out, and then again that leads to almost like working it in circles. Now you want to think about modeling factors on the edge of this. If I wanted to, I can go right to the edge with my eraser, but I want to kind of like leave a turning plane so it turns like a little bit into the shadow. And maybe what I'll do is I'll just start to erase out. This line is not right. I can see that already. I can erase out like my top fold of fabric. Now again, I'll smudge this. I'll work in layers. Right now what I just erased out like that is too light. But I just want to start this. Like I don't want to leave this till the very end. Sometimes when you leave stuff till the very end, you can never get it to match. So what I was saying, I had my first Saturday continuing ed class, and I had 1 or 2 students that never, had a life drawing class, and I was pretty blown away about how they did on their first day. But the mantra for me, for everybody, was don't get stuck in one area. Work the whole drawing at once. Work it like a Ferris wheel, going around and around, a little bit on the top, a little bit in the middle, a little bit on the bottom. And so that's what I'm trying to do at this early stage, is to work this drawing and not get stuck. I think I'm going to just continue with working the eraser in this segment, and then we're going to move and I'll put some more colored pencil down on the page. Now you can go with the lay of the land. You can go straight up and down with the eraser. I'm kind of doing a little bit of everything. So I'm just going to kind of go over this very lightly, and by doing that you kind of lighten that shadow. And this needs to be a tad darker. Like all this, I'm kind of going with the lay of the land. I'm going in that circular motion, and that's going to create some really beautiful texture. If I can do it, fine. If I have the lines too far away, the texture is just going to be too overpowering. And again, you're thinking in layers, so if you don't get it on like the first try, don't sweat it. So I'm very lucky today that I woke up. You know, a lot of it depends on how you feel when you're drawing. I woke up, I feel okay, I've got my hand touch going. You know, drawing this weekend really helped. And so now it's just a matter of me sitting down here today. It's Monday, I believe it's February 9th, I'm not sure. Just sitting down here and trying to get as much of this thing finished this morning. That would be like really fantastic if I can do most of this for you in one more sitting. And the reason why I say that is because if you try to do it all in one sitting, you get like momentum going. And yes, you want to step away from it, and you see a lot. Like I saw a lot stepping away for a few days, and I came back to it today and started working on it today, and I saw a lot of things that I didn't necessarily like. So it's good to step away. You know, you can do your drawing or your painting all in one sitting. I know a lot of artists that do that. But I kind of like to pull away from it for a day or two if it's a long piece. It just gives you a different perspective. I mean, you might be on one day, you might be off the day that you started it, and you're always going to be in more practice the further you work into your piece. Just like a side story for my illustrations, I would always save the face until last when I painted, because I would paint the background, I'd paint the body, I'd paint all that stuff, and by the time I got to the face for the illustration job, I was totally warmed up. So that's kind of how I feel when you're able to, you know, work on a piece like this. If you step away, you come back to it and you're a little bit more warmed up. Okay, let me just see if I can. A little reflected light now. Yeah, I really have to come in next with a pencil. So I'm just going to go over this. And this center line, I don't want it too dark because it's going to cut my statue in half. Like, I've just got to think that this whole area is a little bit more top plane, and that center line cannot be too dark. So I'm really trying to think of, you know, the little shapes within the light. Be careful with those that they don't cut your drawing in half. And this, it really needs to be feathered. Okay.